station in the country that has a V. It stands for, oh, that's eerie, isn't it? It's not Voice of God, though that may change as the night progresses. It stands for Voice of the Common Man. So there you go. First of all, thank you, Nolan. Great to be back here. Well done, boys, on the rugby field there today. Congratulations. Let me tell you the thing I like most about that is none of the Appleby men, not that there's anything wrong with this, were wearing tights. Well, our OTHS had tights on. You guys did not on a cold day. You did very well. Congratulations. Well done. I was going to start with a Maple Leafs joke, but they're already a joke in and of themselves. And then when I saw Nolan had his Red Wings pin on, I couldn't joke about them because one of their greatest players, of course, is a Newfoundlander. Whoops, Daniel Cleary. I have to start my stopwatch because I could go on forever if I don't. It was interesting watching the game because every time I'm in here, I think of Guide Me Out, Oh Great Jehovah. So singing that song, sang earlier there today was a wonderful thing. It's a strange thing for me to be here at this lectern, though. I feel like lightning is going to strike, but the Reverend says it won't, so we should be okay. Now, here's the biggest challenge. I was talking to Will and Dave and Brendan, Patrick about this earlier. If I were in your seats on a Tuesday night at whatever it is now, 7:10, the voice in my head, and I have a lot of them, which you'll come to become acquainted with over the course of the next hour, would be saying, God, I hope this guy isn't boring. Other things I'd rather be doing right now. So I'm going to try not to be boring. Because when I was here sitting down in these chairs, I'd be thinking about what I was going to do on the weekend. How I was going to, teachers plug your ears now, grab some beer and go hog wild. Of course, that would have been done under the cover of staying with a day student, but none of you do that. I know now that all of you young Appleby students are virtuous and the like, and I would not want to encourage any sort of that behavior. So I haven't. I'm just pointing out what happened years ago. It's called the historical allegory. Now, speaking of modern, this is the thing I suspect is going to throw you off. I'm taking a full-on anti-modernist approach to tonight's lecture. I've got no flash mob. There's no viral video. There's no PowerPoint. I'm not even going to look at my BlackBerry, and you can't either for the next 45 minutes. My mother will be proud, by the way, that I did that. Instead, you're going to have to make do with my Newfoundland mainland accent, speaking, and storytelling abilities. The downside is, because I'm in a church, I've promised that I will not drop any F-bombs. Oh, the canon is here. I can't use inappropriate language. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy myself, so I hope you do. Preparing for tonight, though, I thought of a chap whose name may be familiar to some of you, Dr. David Howie, and I thought of another man by the name of Garvello Princip. Who are they? Well, as some of you may know, David Howie was once top teacher here at Appleby, and it was Dr. Howie who inspired a love of history and political science in me. Howie taught me to look beyond the presentation of facts, to ask questions, and to be curious. Now, Garvello Princip, he's a bit of a different kettle of fish. Anybody know who he is, by the way? Okay, don't ruin it for me, because these are really good lines. Garvello Princip was the man who assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife in Sarajevo on the 28th of June, 1914. That set off a chain of events that led to World War I. Okay, see, it's the voices in my head. You think I'm nuts. So what do a former Appleby faculty member and a notorious assassin have in common? No, we're not talking about Will here. We're talking about Dr. Howie and Garvello Princip. What they have in common is they are my nexus point for digging deeper and looking for layers of meaning. Because you see, prior to coming to Appleby and encountering Dr. Howie, I assumed with absolute certainty that one bullet from Princip started the First World War. In fact, in another province, on a public exam, that answer got me full marks. Yet, with Dr. Howie, that was only the starting point. Think about it. How could there not have been other underlying currents No other pre-existing conditions in the Balkans. Nothing. How could that have not existed? Was it really one man with a gun who set the world ablaze? Of course, there was more to be discovered. And it was Howie who helped me to explore, to get the full story. David Howie, I hope, will guide us tonight on our journey. Maybe he'll have the same effect on you as he did on me. Now, as this is the Norman Paterson Lecture, and one of Senator Paterson's passions was the study of world affairs, I thought I'd look at Canada now, after 6 years of the Harper government. I also want to offer some commentary on opportunities for young Canadians like you to make a difference on the planet if you want to. Then, what undoubtedly comes a great relief to you, I'm going to stop talking at you because I'm far more interested in talking with you. So, you can't speak about foreign affairs and not use the word doctrine. So what is the Harper Doctrine? Nobody's booing yet, so that's good. In a speech in June of 2011 at the Conservative Party's National Convention, Prime Minister Harper spelled it out in detail. He said, "We know where our interests lie and who our friends are, and we take strong, principled positions in our dealings with other nations, whether popular or not." He provided further guidance in that address. He talked of Canada being a courageous warrior, a compassionate neighbor, a confident partner. The Prime Minister offered that strength is not an option, it's a vital necessity. Moral ambiguity, moral equivalence are not options, they are dangerous illusions. He continued by explaining, "We said a Conservative government would make sure Canada is in a position to defend our national sovereignty and to protect global security, from east to west, from south to our true north, to wherever in the world the need arises. That means that we shall continue our long-term program to re-equip the Canadian Armed Forces with the tools they need. And that purpose is no longer just to go along and get along with everyone else's agenda." Final point he made, it is no longer to please every dictator with a vote at the United Nations. Harper's language was forceful and clear. And I say that not from the perspective as an apologist, but rather tonight as an interpreter. Harper's goal, though generic enough to be applied in the appropriate geopolitical circumstances, reflected through the terminology applied in this address and through actions taken by Canada under his address has been to do this: reassert the modest leadership role we, Canada, once had on the world stage. I should point out that phrase, reassert modest leadership role we once had on the world stage, was taken from his first major international address when he became Prime Minister in 2006 in London at the Canadian-UK Chamber of Commerce. To me, that's the first iteration of the Harper Doctrine. It signifies that from early days of his prime ministership, Harper had a clear view of what he thought Canada should do in the world. It was also different from those who came before him, and it was, in part, influenced by domestic political calculations or opportunities, as these things often are. Harper makes choices. You may not like them. Apparently Fidel Castro doesn't, as some of you may have heard. It's quite funny to see the Cuban dictator lecturing, some may call the Canadian dictator, about foreign policy, but that has happened this week. But as Prime Minister, he has set the course, focus on selective, active, multi-purpose engagement versus multilateral overreaching. This will all become clear when you go through. You see, having gone to school in London, having gone to school at Harvard, this is what the money pays for. A lot of rambling words that in the end will all become clear. Hopefully it all makes sense in the end too. So we're all familiar with Canada's actions in Afghanistan and Libya. But tonight I want to look at three other choices and applications of the Harper Doctrine. Canada and Israel, fighting to maintain democracy in the Middle East is the first one. The second one is Canada as energy superpower. And the third one is standing up for human rights, particularly gay rights in the Commonwealth. First, Israel. Standing up for democracy in the Middle East, which is a strong personal belief of Harper's. Stephen Harper and his government have been unwavering in their support of Israel. His government has gone farther than any other previous regime, liberal or conservative, in having fidelity to Israel. A beacon of democracy in a part of the world where dictators and despots are more common. At an anti-Semitism conference in 2010, Harper explained his logic. He said, not just because it is the right thing to do, but because history shows us, and the ideology of the anti-Israeli Israel mob tells us all too well, that those who threaten the existence of the Jewish people are in the longer term a threat to all of us. Again, this is Harper. And I know, by the way, because I have the bruises to show for it, that wherever it is at the United Nations or in any other international forum, the easiest thing to do is simply just to get along and to go along with the anti-Israeli rhetoric, to pretend it's just about being even-handed and to excuse oneself with the label of honest broker. Finally, he said, there are, after all, a lot more votes, a lot more in being anti-Israel than in taking a stand. But as long as I am Prime Minister, whether it is in the United Nations, the Francophonie, or anywhere else, Canada will take a stand, whatever the cost. Now, as you're probably all